Wes. I'm coming at you with my first video. I figured if I'm going to do it, I might do a topic that a lot of people might be curious about. This is all about lowering your car. I know it's something a lot of people want to do, and I know it's something a lot of people might think, is it worth it? The first thing I'm going to say is it's all personal preference. When it comes to lowering your car, you want that car to look the way you want it to look. Not the way other people have it, or you see online. You might get some ideas or some inspiration to make your car lowered, and how low you want to go, what system you want to lower your car with, how you want to do it. Just some different options for lowering your car are the cheapest option, which are lowering springs. So lowering springs are gonna just replace the springs, and that will pretty much, you only get one set or one adjustment for lowering. It's wherever the springs kind of land, and hopefully it works. Each spring might have a different adjustment or different lowering option. I guess when you go and buy the springs, personally, I never looked into them very much because I didn't want that one set height. And then the second option is coilovers. That's what I went with personally. Coilovers will cost you anywhere from probably $300 up to like $1,000, depending on how all out you want to go. I like the coilovers. They are adjustable. So say you want it a little lower, you want it a little higher. The only thing about coilovers is they're going to make a stiffer ride. So your car's going to feel a little, I want to say, not as bouncy, or less body roll when you go and take a turn or something like that. That'll be something else. And then the last option, which if I could only afford it, would be bags or an air ride, air lift system. That's the system where you see cars park in a spot and just kind of drop down. Bags are really cool, and they're great for show cars, or if you want a car that looks super low when you're at a car show or at a meet, or you just when it's parked, but then when you drive it, it's at a reasonable height for driving. Now that's like the best of both worlds. That's what everybody wants, right? Well, yeah, the only reason everybody doesn't have them is because they're about a couple $1,000s and up. Cheapest set, I did a quick Google search, I didn't really put much time into looking, was like $1,800, $2,000. Seems pretty average. I could be wrong. I didn't look into them much because I knew they were out of my budget. So I went with coilovers. I went with Raceland coilovers. They said on their website a 1 to 3 inch adjustment from factory height, and I love them a lot. I do have some clearance. Really, I don't scrape the car much. It has to be pretty rough if I'm gonna actually hit the fender, the bumper on the ground, or actually have something on the bottom of the car scrape on the ground. The only thing that rubs on my car is the wheel in the fender. That's what it does. That is a pretty violent bump, and I didn't actually try to avoid it at all. I do kind of hit it at a weird angle, and it doesn't make the noise. But all it's doing is the wheel is rubbing up inside the fender. That's not a huge deal to me. Personally, I can live with it. It's not that big a deal. The problem, though, if you're thinking of doing coilovers, is thinking about where you live. If you live in a place where it's always warm and there's not that many potholes on the road, or it's not a very hilly area. If you live, in Ohio, for instance, very flat, but you do have potholes. Anyway, but depending on where you live. I live in Pittsburgh. The roads are literally known to be terrible. Big bump right there. Pothole. It's just everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's probably not one road without a pothole in the city of Pittsburgh. And that's just because climate change, super hilly area, and that's just why we have a lot of potholes. We have a lot of patches, just, all that fun stuff. So for me, it's almost kind of stupid to get coilovers. But I wanted a lowered car. I didn't care. I really was just like, you know what? That's what I want. And that's something you have to think about too. Do you want it? Is it something that you're going to be able to live with, you're going to enjoy, you're going to kind of put up with the stupid little quirks that it may give you. I know I take bumps very slowly when I used to, with my stock suspension, just kind of roll over them because I have the room, the soft suspension, and that's just what I gave up. And quite frankly, pulling into a gas station super slow and having some people honk at me because I'm like crawling over it, I'll live with it. I can deal with it. It's not that big a deal. So if you can live with that and that's something you're not going to really worry about, it's totally a good option. If you want that look but you don't want to spend a absolute crap ton of money on bags, go for it. I think they're great. And I think coilovers, in my opinion, this is personal opinion, no real backing of anything, but I think coilovers are the best option. Springs are the cheapest, and they do what you may want depending on how they fit. That's the biggest thing. If say I got bigger wheels, I can adjust my coilovers to accommodate for that. You're good to go. But for springs, you're kind of just like set, where you'd have to buy new springs, which really, if you only did that, probably still be cheaper than coilovers. Anyway, you also have to think about your car a little bit too. Is lowering your car worth it? Is it something that you can live with? Biggest thing. If it's your daily, you might have to think about it. If it's not, kind of just go for it, really. I think it's a great concept, and I think it's a cool thing to say or do. It's fun to do for sure, to put all the new coilovers on and then finally put the car back on the ground and see where it sits. It's such a cool thing. This car before coilovers had the biggest wheel well gap ever. It was ridiculous. I'm so glad I went with lowering the car and getting rid of it. It was ugly. It was personally ugly. I didn't like it. So I got rid of that wheel well gap, and I really enjoy it. I like it a lot. I definitely think it's something cool to do and something fun to do. The other thing you may have to watch out for is you may have to get wheel spacers. I know when I put new coilovers on this car, my wheels would rub the new coilovers. So I had to buy spacers, bring the wheel actually out further. Makes the car look better too. Kind of makes a flush with the fenders. Looks a lot better. But if you guys are on the fence about lowering your car, there's a couple. The main points to consider is location, functionality, and how much you really want to lower your car. If it's something you've been just kind of thinking about ever since you got the car, you're probably not going to regret it. You're probably just going to enjoy it and just kind of say, hey, I like it a lot. And you will like it. It's a cool concept to do. Join the low and slow club. We ain't fast up in here. Hopefully one day we'll be fast, but not right now. It makes noise and sounds fast, but no, it's not fast at all. So I hope this was somewhat helpful. Hope this was somewhat enjoyable. And I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.